they'll wake up to it anyway. It's been done. Go
Yep,
when you're ready.
we're going. Well, welcome everybody. About 3, maybe 4 hours ago, Kathleen Zellner made a tweet saying, "Tomorrow, you will find out who really planted Teresa Halbach's RAV4 on the Avery Salvage property." It's just a tweet. It's just a tweet, but this is huge. Kelly?
Yeah. Well, it's definitely got the making a murderer community in a frenzy. Everyone, I know a lot of people are making speculative kind of um, theories of what it could be and who it's going to be and whether she will actually release a name or whether she'll kind of just give cryptic kind of clues. Um, and the one thing that I do want to highlight, and I think I speak for you, Millbilly, is the irony of she's done this the night of a Sunday night. And people are saying, is that being the fact that tomorrow we might see a new motion or something come out from the courts with something that she's added?
Well,
So,
I doubt
yeah.
that something came from the courts because, well, then again, you never know. But on April 6th, there was a vote election for the appellate court judge, and Judge Davis lost his position to Shelley Grogan. So there's a new judge in place. So that was 6 days
Right.
ago. So I don't know.
Do we know much about the new judge?
That she's backed by Scott Walker, backed by Brad Schimmel, backed by Hartwig, the sheriff of Manitowoc County.
Oh dear.
She won in high numbers in Calumet County, Manitowoc. Uh, Davis was only backed by literally 5 people, and one of them was Judge Riley, which is going to be one of the judges that's going to be on Stephen Avery's appeal, the 3-judge panel. But literally, he only
Mm-hmm.
had 5 people endorsing him, and she had a list
Oh dear.
about 25, 50 people. Superintendents, like I said, Brad Schimmel, Scott Walker, a whole bunch.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's going to be interesting to see what's moving forward. So when do we think that Kathleen? Okay, so we're going to have to go into like theories here and maybe just speculate. I know it's speculation, but I wonder whether she'll do it in the morning, whether it be mid-morning, or whether it'll be afternoon before we see anything. She's dropped this massive bomb saying that
Well,
we're going to know exactly. I wonder how she's going to do it. Like you did say, it is only a tweet right now, but it sounds like the way she's worded it, it's like there's an announcement coming. How is she going to present it? That's what I'm more curious about right now.
yep. What do you guys think in the chat?
Tell you what, I'm wicked excited for show. Let's go. Yep, it's going to be interesting. I will have to say though that when you read it, the way I read it, because everyone is open for interpretation. So when I read it, tomorrow you will find out who really planted Teresa Hallback's RAV4 on the Avery salvage yard. So when I read it, this is my perspective of it. I was like, hang on a minute. She's just presented in her motions and a narrative that the killer um, is a certain family member, and she's given like a reenactment of how it could have went down. She went on the gentleman's YouTube video the other day and said she's 100% sure she knows who the killer is and she knows how it happened. So she's made these big statements, bold statements at that. So when I read this, it was like, you're going to find out tomorrow who really planted Teresa's RAV4. And I'm thinking to myself, it almost sounds like it's going to be something new because she's planted in our brains a narrative that we already know who it would be. So why would we be shocked with it being anyone else? Because her narrative up until this point is only been on one person, the Denny, her main Denny. So when she writes, you will really find out who it is. If it's anyone but that person, how does that fit into her narrative that she's led like in her motions and her briefs up to this point?
Mm-hmm.
So I find that really interesting. Again, this was perspective, and I just read it like it's something new. Again, you're going to find out who the real person that planted trees is. So I just wanted to put
Well,
that in there.
her last significant tweet was on January 30th, where she said, "For your info, we are still testing evidence for Stephen Avery's case. Every particle matters. So much evidence never tested," which is true.
That is true.
823, they discarded it, didn't even send it in.
Yeah. We've got people saying, like Stacey saying, mystery solved. Seems, you know, not speculation. She wouldn't make these bold statements if obviously she didn't have something. So that is a good way of looking at it. There's a positivity there, and like you just said with the last tweet, she's already been doing more testing. Has she maybe found something? I've seen a lot of, because I've been like flooding through the social media, through Facebook, Twitter, Discords, reading everyone's comments, having a quick feel for where everyone's head's at with this tweet. And a lot of people are going, oh my God, imagine if it's Andy. Imagine if it was Andy Colburn. Honestly though, could you imagine the butterfly effect that would have, not only for Stephen and Brennan's case, but his own civil suit right now that's going back in front of a judge, am I right? Because it got sent back.
Mm-hmm.
So that would absolutely just change everything yet again.
Well, Ludwig had wrote that if they couldn't come to any kind of agreement for their monetary and their little conference they had, that it would be going back to him.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I haven't got any updates on the website I follow to get all the information I do, but yeah.
I'm just wondering, do we think, this is to people in the chat as well, do we think that she's going to release an actual name, or do we think, like I said at the beginning, it's going to be almost like a category, like it's a family member, or it's a law enforcement, or it's a member of the public? Or do you think she's really going to narrow in and go, here's a name and here's what we've got?
My money's on law enforcement, 100%.
Right.
I'll be shocked if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think if we can clear this up, because I know a lot of us, and I'm included, I remember, and we were having a conversation with Ziggy before, he was saying about she had made a statement or a tweet even a few years maybe prior, that she said she had ruled out certain people. Law enforcement didn't plant the blood. They didn't plant this, didn't plant that.
She tweeted that the blood came from the sink, so that rules out law enforcement. But then she goes and tweets about the battery, saying that it came from a Manitowoc Fleet vehicle. So, like I said, it's just a tweet.
That's interesting.
I've always gone on, but what's in her briefs. A tweet don't mean shit to me, but this is significant. I do believe
that. Yes. And that's what I mean. I guess we won't know the significance until tomorrow. How she's going to do this announcement. If it becomes only just yet another Twitter post, you have to take it with a grain of salt. You can't really, although it's exciting, it's still something new. It's not definitive, like it's not concrete. It's just another speculation, another theory. But if it's like an announcement, like a complete announcement with something that backs that up, then this is going to change the direction one way or the other of the entire case.
Yep.
And it's pretty bloody exciting. And obviously, well, she would probably have let Stephen know. So Stephen would be knowing that this was about to come out, wouldn't he? She would have relayed the information, I'm assuming, or maybe not, being that
don't know.
She wouldn't do it over the phone. We don't know.
No.
So it's pretty exciting.
That's for sure. Wow, man, this retweets are blowing up. It's already got almost 7,228 likes. Went up again, another. Yeah.
What do we think Ken Kratz is doing right now?
Who knows?
I've seen a lot of comments from a lot of people saying that a lot of people that they have suspected that might be involved in this would be packing their bags right now and getting the hell out of Dodge. I can just imagine there'll be a few secret phone calls going around in the last few hours amongst each other.
They use
You know,
emails.
certain people, yeah, emails saying, this Kathleen's really starting to piss me off. Now she's about to release something
Hmm.
about the planting, you know. So it's it's definitely exciting. The only thing that I want to touch base on, and I know this again, this is speculative, but right now this is all we've got. Um, the thing that I'm gonna say, I'm fine if she says it's anyone but who her main Denny suspect is right now. That's gonna kind of throw me off balance as well, because if it's anyone but him, I'm kind of a little bit confused with where she's going with it, because it's hard to believe that she is going down a narrative that the killer, the real killer, planted blood in the car on the 3rd, and then by some Christmas miracle, the law enforcement comes along a few days later, picks up the car, sees blood in it, and plants it back on the salvage yard, just praying to God that it's Stephen Avery's.
Well,
So it's one of those contradicting, very high risk things she's doing if she says it's anyone but who she's put out there already, because she's then changing her narrative all over again, and it's going against her own briefs to a degree, that is. We've been asked by John,
hmm,
would love to know who you both think it is.
law enforcement, 100%.
Yeah, I will say that as well. I've always believed that planting started with law enforcement and it ended with law enforcement, and I think the murder itself was very separate. I think that Teresa died the way she died with whoever it was, but they tried to conceal the crime, and law enforcement took advantage of that.
All these damn messages, Jesus Christ.
Stacey made a good point. Maybe someone cashed in on the reward as well. You got to remember that reward's been dangling like a carrot for a little while now. Someone might have, you know, come forward and said, "I've got some information about, you know, who I helped this with the car, or I saw someone in the car." It's a
Well, Rachel,
interesting one.
I'm with you. I don't believe it's her Rav either. Kelly thinks it
Well,
is.
this
So,
Well, the irony is, okay, let's put it this way. If she comes forward tomorrow and says it's a family member, the two Rav theory is gone. Because how in the hell would a family member come up with a second planted fake Rav?
they wouldn't.
And why would they do exactly? So if she comes out tomorrow and goes, "Hey, everyone, it's a family member," the two Rav theory is
It's blown.
debunked
Yeah,
there and then.
you're right.
Gone. It's completely gone. If she comes out tomorrow and says, "Hey, everyone, it's law enforcement," although I still believe there's one, I can completely understand why people would still think that there's two, because that doesn't change that they had access to maybe certain things. But in my opinion, there is no way a family member had the opportunity, time, and means to find a fake Rav and bring it in. There's just no point. Not if you're framing your uncle, brother, whatever way you're connected. So it's going to be interesting on that perspective. If she comes out and says it's a family member, the two Rav theory is now completely debunked.
Yeah. Ooh.
I wish so. So the only problem I have right now is your tomorrow is my now. So it's
Yeah.
2 o'clock in
Well,
the
it's
afternoon.
now
So I
tomorrow.
should have.
This could.
So,
She usually tweets like at like 5 in the morning. Usually.
oh wow. I just think to myself, I'm already in your now, in your tomorrow, so I should already know this answer. So where the hell's my answer? Because I'm
Yeah.
already living it.
Yeah. You're in the future.
So I'm in the future. Um, I just really hope that it's not a long waited out day for you guys, because knowing my luck, I will go to bed tonight and it will probably go down while I'm asleep. So it's going to be a very interesting thing to wake up to, I'm guessing.
I'm set to go on vacation.
Oh, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going anywhere in particular, or are you just going to stay home and work on the case?
I'll probably work on the case.
I saw that one coming.
It's my passion. Sorry. And there's really not shit to do with everything still being closed. Unless I leave the state, go
Mm-hmm.
down south. But yeah, I got no time for that. Like
Yeah.
if I could get to Florida, I have somewhere to stay. But I don't want to go down there.
Oh, I just saw something interesting, a comment being made that Colburn filed for a divorce a month ago. Coincidental? I did not know about that.
Hold on, let me look at this. Let's see if this is true.
Stacey's saying, take a trip to Cuss Road, take a walk in the forest. That's what you can do on
Well,
your vacation.
they must have updated their. I never had to do
A
this
lot of
before.
there's a few people with some like theories of when it'll come out. There's people thinking that you won't hear anything till after 8 a.m. Uh, Stacey's saying it will be somewhere around noon Chicago time.
I
She will
hate
want the courts open.
I hate Yahoo. Shit don't ever work right.
So you're checking right now to see what the status is of Colburn's divorce,
Sure
right?
as shit. Yep, he filed for divorce.
Stacey wrote a bit further up. Sorry, Stacey, I just saw this. With KZ's recent testing tweet and now this one, I wonder if someone they have DNA prints on file.
Is it ironic? It's the same day as his last hearing.
Oh my God, really?
Yes, his court date was on the 9th, and this is filed on the 10th.
Oh dear.
Interesting. Quite interesting. Let's check. Pacer. Yeah, the exact same day. It was, yeah, the same day he was in court, the same day he filed for divorce. Crazy. Let's check the district courts, see if there's anything on there for his. Go to Pepper first. Go Duffin. Let's see. Nothing for Colborne. And let's go to Ludwig. Nothing there. And we'll look at Pepper. Nope. No news for his lawsuit. But that's very interesting that he did file for divorce.
Wow.
Strange. Same day as the mediation hearing. Well,
Maybe that's why he's suing. He needs to pay the wifey out.
hmm,
Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Didn't KZ say something in that Truth Natters thing that sometimes wives or ex-wives come forward and talk?
sure
Next
did.
minute, he's getting divorced. KZ is about to release who really planted the Rav. Oh, that's a bit of an interesting connection. Again, speculative, but still interesting when you put those three next to each other. The timing.
Well, I've been leaning towards Colborn as being the one that framed him because you got him calling in the
Right.
Rav on the third.
Yeah.
The time frame that he would have been able to see Avery. Uh, but Steven gets off the phone at 5:46. He says they leave at 6:30, 7 o'clock. So the time window for Colburn to show up on the property and for him to reopen his hand, because Colburn shows up, talks to him at his mom's. He then goes down by Barb's, removes the trailer from her vehicle, recuts his hand, goes in his Grand Am, grabs his phone charger, goes in the rear of the trailer, then leaves. And then by the time they get to the corner of 147 and Avery, he says he sees lights. They go to Jambo Creek, turn around. The
So
duration of the time it would took him to
my
drive from his house to Jambo Creek and turn around is about 6, 7 minutes, depending on how fast Charles
okay.
Chuck was driving.
Can you do me a favor again? Can you just quickly? I'm really interested. Can you go back to the Stevens timeline again? You said he
Hold on.
start from when he speaks to Colburn and just get to the point when he gets in the truck with Chuck Chuck. Yeah. Yep. 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 Mm-hmm. But in both of Stephen, or in Stephen's statement, he says he gets off the phone to Jody, and isn't it that Andy meets him there? They speak. You're right. I'm glad you brought that up because
All right. You guys seen that? That's the timeline. I didn't have my mic set up, so you didn't hear anything I said. Basically, Lemieux gets the call about the missing person report at 5 o'clock. By 5:58 p.m., Craig Sipple is calling because he was contacted by, I'm assuming, Steven Schmidt, because him and Sipple were selling the car that was at Schmidt's house. So if he's calling there at 5:58, that means Colborn has already been contacted by Mark Wiegert prior to 6 o'clock, or right around 6 o'clock. Uh, by the time he drives to the Avery's, like the window for him to talk to Avery is so small,
mm-hmm.
and
So
like I said, his affidavit that he signed is not completely accurate because he tries to say that he got home after 10 o'clock on the third, which is impossible because he's answering the phone at 9:33 p.m. A phone call we do not have.
So the other thing I want to bring up about Stephen's affidavit is he absolutely twists it. You've been always stating the first affidavit where he says He gets off the phone to Jody. He goes and sees Andy Colburn. Then he goes to the hinge, drives over to Barb's, unhinges it. Then he cuts his finger. So in this timeline, Andy comes before the fingers recut open. He
No,
then says that
Andy comes before the fingers cut open, but he's a trained law enforcement officer. When you're talking to people, you're supposed to look at key things. He notices the cut on his hand.
But at this point of time, we both agree it's not actually recut open. There is
No,
a wound, but yeah,
no.
exactly.
But who's to say
So,
when Angie Colburn left, he didn't go sit down by Avery's and was watching?
oh,
Because
absolutely, it's
the
absolutely
time
possible.
that if he talks to Avery at 6 o'clock, why do they wait 3.5 hours to go talk to Zipper? And
Yeah.
the queso's statements contradict what the audio we have, because Dieterine says he arrives at Manitowoc at 7, but at 7:30 he's still at the Calumet County Sheriff's Department because Wiegert is looking for him. He's got his cell phone off. He doesn't have his radio turned on, and he's standing right next to Jerry Pagel.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Well, everyone's timeline's off because this is what I'm saying. So he comes before that, and like you said, he could have just gone around the corner and waited. That's absolutely possible. But what I'm saying is he then cuts his finger open. No, he goes in, talks to the boys, apparently says, hey, listen, Andy was just here. There's a missing girl, blah, blah, blah. He then goes and recuts his finger. Then he goes and gets his charger, goes into his trailer, bleeds in the sink and comes out. Well, I don't know if you really have read the latest affidavit. He completely changes it. Him and Kathleen, and it's signed affidavit. Stephen changes the entire timeline of events. He turns them all around. So now he says he got off the phone of Jody. He then spoke to Andy, saying that's all the same. Then he says he goes over and unhinges the trailer. While he's bleeding, he then goes up into Barb's. He's bleeding all over her trailer while he's talking to the boys because Bobby's now has to be able to see that he's bleeding. He then leaves Barb's bleeding, goes into his grand dam, opens it up, takes it, then goes into the bathroom sink, drops the blood, then he exits in Chuck's vehicle and leaves. Every single time he says that, regardless which statement you're talking about, he does say the same thing. He always mentions that he saw lights. The difference is on the very first affidavit, he says it was a RAV4 lights. The tail lights was a RAV4. He saw it and it was at the back of his trailer. It was going towards the Cuss Road exit. Then he changes it to the latest is Bobby's truck. That's the end of it.
Well,
he changes the location.
He said it could have been Bobby because he sometimes parked his truck over there. But like I said, the last affidavit he signed was over 10 years after the fact. So
I'll be honest with you. I think it was strategic the way they changed it, and it was to slip Bobby in there to be the best Denny because that's the motion she was going for. They needed for him to be able to see that Stephen was bleeding. So they changed the timeline from him going there before he was bleeding finger to after. So they can write Bobby was seeing him physically bleed. But in his very first affidavit, he said, that came before I was bleeding, so not even Bobby knew I was bleeding.
He also
thing I'm going to say.
He also states that he smelled smoke on the 4th.
Yes, now the 4th. Exactly, but you got to remember about that. You have to remember that he says that once Link and another officer had also just come through, and they could have been smoking.
Yes,
they could have had that smell on them when they've gone through.
He didn't know that they were there until they ran his truck plates, and Chuck and Earl heard it all over the scanner. So who knows how long they were down there? Nobody's home at the Dassies except for Bobby. He most likely going to be sleeping. Mm-hmm. And on the 4th, Stephen Avery is standing outside talking to a reporter, and it's after Link and Remaker have already came, and you see Bobby hop on a 4-wheeler and take off.
Yep. The thing is, I just find it interesting. The only thing I do want to say is Andy, again, this everyone's up to their own thing, but in my opinion, from the timeline, Andy did not know that Stephen was bleeding. He would have seen the cut, but he
Like
came
I've
before
I've
that got
always
cut open.
theorized that he found a Rav, went back to the Averys to find something of his to put in that car, and he hit the jackpot. The blood. If it's law
I
enforcement,
personally, I personally do not find the blood in the sink theory possible. Period, for many reasons. It's, to me, it's just not plot unless someone's standing there with a dropper in their hand, physically watching you drop, and is ready to pick it up and take it immediately from A to B alone. Fresh blood. By the time you've picked up that blood and taken it to wherever the Rav is stored, that the blood in the dripper itself would have coagulated, because the smaller the drip, the quicker it coagulates and it changes rapidly.
mm-hmm.
So by the time they would have got to that Rav, it would have been just literally a ball of goo. And I 100% know this because I've done it. I've literally got videos of it, watching the process of it.
So
And
how
it
do
is
you explain
insane.
the flakes?
The flake, I'm going to be honest with you, the flakes make no sense at being from the vial, and the flakes almost make no sense at being fresh blood. Because the reason why I say it makes no sense with it being the vial is because I can't see them being stupid enough to take the vial with them to the actual air, wherever they did it. It's almost like they would have had to do. I'm going to be honest with you, with my EDTA blood, I'm going to give you guys a hint here. I had EDTA blood, and I had it sitting in a drawer in a darkened box for a few months, and I waited and waited, and I wanted to see whether it would stay consistent in fluid, like continue being fluid based. I was able to take a bit of blood out, and I'm talking the smallest amount. I took 0.2 of a mil of blood out, and I put it in a dripper, and this is EDTA blood. I was then able to, and I've got it all on video, film, I was able to then put it on the side and let it sit for 8 hours. I timed it for 8 hours. It had been removed from the vial, it was sitting in a dripper. After 8 hours of this EDTA blood, I was still able to plant it. It had not even coagulated. It took 2 minutes and 47 seconds for my blood in the sink to go into a ball of clot. And you cannot hydrate fresh blood with water. It is impossible, because what happens is there's 5 stages of when your blood, it releases from your body, there's 5 stages. You have obviously your liquid wet stage, then it goes to your coagulation stage, and that has like a few little factors in, like stages in itself. Then it goes to like a tachy stage, which is part of your coagulation. Then it goes to dry. Once it goes to dry, that means that it's like dehydrated, or everything has all the cells and everything has evaporated and gone. And then you get to your flake stage, where it's completely dried out, it's completely useless. You add water to it and it literally goes to shit. Kathleen's problem with her sink theory is it's impossible that you can have two stages in a short amount of time. She's saying that it would have had to have happened, of the blood being taken from the sink, within minutes. Within minutes. There is no way in minutes you can get from wet stage and flaking stage with fresh blood. It's impossible. And it's also impossible for it to be the same rule for EDTA, because it's either going to stay liquid, but you're not going to get flakes coming out of a dropper. So it's really, really bizarre wherever the flakes come from. It doesn't make, to me, I just cannot put my finger on where the flakes would have come from, being fresh or EDTA. You can't, it's like she's saying it would have had to be that they've got the blood from the sink when it's still wet, and then they would have had to have gone back to the sink while it was dry to then scrape. And that would have had to been up to 45 minutes to a few hours later before it finally gets to that final stage. It's just impossible. the thing is, the being dried in a baggie, people, I can't find it being, how could you get flakes in a baggie without having a source? And the source would have to have been of a liquid form at some stage. So again, it makes no sense for timeline. If there's blood flakes in the bag, then there would have been wet substance in the bag. You can't have two different levels of degradation in one hit. It's very complicated. I was doing that experiment I started in December the 18th, and I only finished it a few months. I've got so many pictures and videos and hours and hours and hours of stuff. I haven't been able to put it together because, one, I've been extremely busy, and two, I don't know where to start. I literally don't know where to start. I've got that much, and it's so hard to bring it all in. And then, yeah, it's really complicated. It's not just easy. You can't just think, oh, they've gone up to the sink with a dropper, grabbed it from the sink and ran up to a RAV. There is so many factors in it. You have timing as an issue. You have temperature as an issue. You have all these factors and coagulation stages and getting to the RAV and where was the RAV and how far away. There is so many things. And again, a dripper. Who the hell's walking around with a dripper in their pocket just praying to God Stephen cut his finger open?
Well, law enforcement has everything they would need to do that in the tailgate of their trunk. So
yeah,
it'd be in their first aid kit. They had everything they need: gloves, droppers, distilled water, everything you need. Yeah. They already have. It just bothers me that I'm keep it to myself. Whew.
It's just one of those things. I guess it's just a waiting game, really. Kathleen's obviously going to release a bombshell tomorrow, and it's hopefully going to set a new stone of events for this case. Either way, it's got people talking again.
She knows.
Made everyone excited.
She obviously knows who did it because she wouldn't have tweeted that. But yeah.
Now we wait. Are you going to go live tomorrow when it gets released? A lot of people are asking.
If it goes before I go to work, yes. And if it happens while I'm at work, I will be going live from my phone for the first time. So.
Okay. Yep. Well, there we go. Now we just wait.
Yep. Jody was dropping deuces in ice cream buckets.
Oh my God.
Dolores found a ice cream container that she shit on and left in the porch. It was quite hilarious when I heard that call. Jody's surprise. Because they had shut the water off at Avery's trailer. The thing I don't understand, if Jody moved in there first, why didn't she move back in there when she got released from jail? She moved in with Ma.
Right.
Did they really not want her there no more? And that's prior to them destroying the garage. Well, I guess that could be why. They did destroy the fucking place on March 1st. But she was released 2 weeks before that, so still doesn't make any sense. But neither here nor there. Anything else you'd like to add before we go?
No, I'm just excited for tomorrow. Well, tonight for me. I'm just dreading the fact that I'm probably going to be asleep, but I'm going to have my phone on every time I hear a ping. I'll be jumping out of my skin. So I can't see sleeping tonight's going to be very good.
My phone.
But I'm with you guys. I'm just excited.
Me too.
Well, thanks for inviting me on. Again, it's sent everyone bonkers. Everyone's wants to talk about it because everyone's curious to what everyone else is thinking. So it's good that you opened up a opportunity for everyone to kind of have a moment to vent and listen and share ideas and share the excitement. So thank you, Mealbelly.
No problem. Y'all have a good evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you're watching this from.
Laters.
I'll be updating you as soon as I hear something.